In the event that Bitcoin were to tumble from here and start dropping down, I would have a series of plans in place to maximize profits and limit losses that I might experience in this market. And I want to break them down with you because right now Bitcoin is pretty much at all-time highs. So far at the time of recording, we haven't actually broken those all-time highs yet. And I don't actually think that a particularly big pullback is on the way. However, if it did happen, I think it would happen one of a few ways, and I want to break them down for you because there's some really, really tradable information here that we're going to be diving into in this video. And as usual, I'm going to be making my trades on the exchanges linked at the top of the description. Bybit is giving you over $30,000 in free capital that you can trade with when you start trading using this link. Same for Blowfin. They've got much more aggressive offers than Bybit as well, and only use these if you are allowed to in your country. But we're going to come back to this in just a minute. There's tons of others out there as well if you're curious, but I think that if Bitcoin did end up starting to dip down, because of the kind of nature of the market that we're in right now, specifically being very bullish, very excited at the moment, I am not going to anticipate that our pullbacks are going to be deep. I'm not going to be looking for deep pullbacks here. And first of all, before we even start talking about that, we do have to kind of familiarize ourselves with the kind of price action that Bitcoin has been displaying so far, which is to say that up to this point, we've had big, excited, aggressive moves upward, followed by, a little pause and then another big explosive move upwards. And to really put this in perspective, most of these moves, in this case are happening within just the space of a day or two. And, this was a 10% move. Most of this move happened within about 5 days. It was a 14% move. And on this occasion here, I'd say most of the move probably would have happened within about 18 days, and it was 23% up. So we're looking at big aggressive moves in this market when it goes. And that's why the first most important thing that I said is that typically you don't see deep pullbacks, because for me, priority number one, other than saving my money and keeping it safe, which we're going to get to in just a minute. And by the way, if you are excited for this or if you're enjoying the video so far, do me a favor and smash up those likes. And this is super time sensitive content. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss it and that you see it on time, double check that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel as well. But the reason that I put this first, right, in terms of making sure that I'm not kind of missing the dips, so to speak, is that if the market goes in a situation like this, it's typically going to go quick and it's going to go far. And those are two really, really important things to understand, because it means that once you're in the market, you're good, right? Like once you're in a trade, you're going to make a lot of money and it's going to come very, very quickly. But the chance you're going to have to open that trade, that window is going to be very small. Now, that actually applies to the trades right here that I've been talking to you guys about for a little bit, where I have pulled some huge profits on Bitcoin and TRX. You can pause it right here to kind of read, with over 2,300% gained on my Bitcoin position and over 1,100% gained on my TRX position. The reason I was able to take these trades and make these trades, more importantly, was because I was aware that sometimes you get those windows opening up, and that's what leads to big, big gains. So that's what we're going to be really focusing on in this video, is kind of replicating that in this market here. And like I said, the best places to trade on are going to be linked right here in the description. Check them out if you are allowed to, if you're not in a restricted region. All you've got to do for these bonuses is just start trading, and these platforms will give you that money there in your wallet. Any profits you generate, you can withdraw. So that's super, super cool. But, to kind of replicate that here, I have to identify a couple of kind of bounce zones. And, we're cheating a little bit because I did that on my last live stream. Those of you who watch the live streams, you're going to be familiar with this, but we've already got them drawn out on the chart. The first one is very, very straightforward, right? I mean, we've got support right here in the $71,000 to $72,000 price level. This is the price zone that Bitcoin has been rejected from 1, 2, 3, 4 times on a macro scale here, and this time kind of as we predicted, to be honest, pretty much exactly as we predicted actually. On this occasion here, Bitcoin did end up just flying through that resistance level. We weren't expecting resistance in this zone, right? You guys are going to remember I've always been saying when we enter these kind of zones, typically there are big liquidity gaps and the moves happen within one day. And that's exactly what we saw right here. None of this took us by surprise whatsoever, which is sick. So really, really happy for those of you that have been watching this channel. And by the way, we had a new millionaire created here on this YouTube channel just in the live stream earlier today. So that is super, super cool. One of our viewers smashed their first million and were telling us about it in the live chat. So congratulations to you if you're watching this video. I'm sure you are. And yeah, we got many, many more millionaires that are going to be made in this season. As you get to big milestones, tell me about it because it's big. We got to celebrate it. If you don't mind me saying your name, or if you got a username or whatever, or if you want me to blank it, let me know. But I think it's really cool. It's worth celebrating, and everybody wants to get there. So let's make that energy a bit more contagious. That's my perspective. But really, really big move here, and so that's kind of why we printed that massive zone of support. But we didn't actually use it as resistance, and that's why I might anticipate that it gets used as support because the market is very, very bullish right now. And like I said, I wouldn't be anticipating deep pullbacks, only shallow pullbacks as far as I can kind of be concerned right now. So with that in mind, that's going to be the first level of support. Now, I find at this level, especially, even from the high down to this level, it's just too shallow, right? I mean, from the high that we set today, it's only a 2.7% drop down from the current price to this support zone. It's going to be about a 1.3, 1.4% move down. So it's really not that substantial of a drop. And even though I don't think we're going to get deep pullbacks, I think that this one is too shallow. So I'm going to cross this one out right now. I'm not interested in it. The next zone of support that I've got is right here. This is 69.4. And the reason that this support level is being drawn on the chart is because it's the value area high of our Vpvr. I actually had it drawn slightly differently, so I might get slightly different numbers here. But we're looking at, generally speaking, obviously the same general area here, which is where this yellow line is. We can move it a little bit higher or a little bit lower. It doesn't really matter. But we're looking at the mid $69,000 price range. And actually, if you trace back what's happened at this price level, there is quite a bit going on here. You've got some really nice kind of support and resistance hits that have developed around this particular price area throughout Bitcoin's history up here. It's still not the biggest, craziest thing in the world, and so I wouldn't really expect it to be too much of an interesting area for Bitcoin, and that's why it's marked down just with a dashed line. But this next zone is what I think is really interesting. This next zone, if you were paying attention to the fixed range volume profile, is also going to be our volume our point of control. This red line right here represents where basically most price action or trading or volume, more importantly, of Bitcoin was exchanged. Most of it was exchanged over here. Most Bitcoins exchanged hands at this price zone. And that's really important because we're getting big support and resistance hits already, right? So I think that if Bitcoin did end up getting a pullback, this is going to be the bottom. I don't think that Bitcoin's going to get lower. I think that if Bitcoin did get lower, in line with the idea of this video, which is, what my plan is as a trader, if Bitcoin did get lower than this support zone, I think it would mean that this is a fake out. And I think what it would mean much more importantly is that we're probably headed down into the low 60s or even 50s again, if we lost this support here. And it's a big swing. However, measuring it by percentage to kind of get down below this support level, you would have to drop by just over 10%. So, it's a big move. 10% is a lot, but it's not enough to, 10% is not that much. Like, you can drop by 10% and you can still very comfortably, very, very comfortably carry on trending higher. So it's still shallow, in my opinion. 10% is a big number, but it's still shallow. And more importantly, if we really evaluate what dropping down to 65K would mean, if we really break it down, and really just look at this from a much more calm, objective lens rather than, what most other traders live in, which is a much more frantic, scary place to be. If we just kind of reflect on where we are now and where we came from, Bitcoin was trading down here just 2 days ago. Just a day and a half ago, Bitcoin was down here at 67K. So really what it would mean if Bitcoin ended up, kind of retracing back down to this support zone, which I'm saying I think is, quite likely, Bitcoin only erases about a day and a half of price action. which is all to say that this is a shallow pullback. I don't think that this is a deep pullback. Yes, it's a big-ish number. It's 10%. We don't see 10% drops particularly often. This drop here, to put things in perspective, was a 6% drop. So yeah, 10% is a little bit bigger, but it's not substantially bigger. And it only takes us down into a very, very well respected, well understood price level here for Bitcoin. So that would, to me, that would be the kind of extent of the pullback for Bitcoin. Like I said, if it goes lower, the plan changes significantly, and I would actually potentially start looking for some shorts, you know, try to kind of play some shorts up there. Or I would just stay out of the market. You know, and I would probably be expecting something a bit more bearish. Is it possible that we stay bullish? Yes, but it's not the point of the video. We're not focusing on that right now. If we did get that pullback here, I think that, you know, the kind of trade setups here are somewhat straightforward. The only issue is that you get quite extreme wicks, so it's hard to be safe. I think the only kind of safe stop loss, if there is such a thing, would probably be something a little bit like this, 64.9. You might even want to get yourself below this wick right here, so that stop loss might start looking a little bit more like 64.4. In both cases, it's not crazy. You're looking at about 3 to 5% on the downside. You know, I think if it was me trading this, I could probably throw 4 times leverage on this, maybe up to 5. Aggressively, I could do 5x leverage. Let's go with 5 for now, because I would probably choose a tighter stop loss. 5x leverage on a 3.4% loss is going to be about 18%, minus 18%. So that's pretty good. I'm okay with that. It'd be less than that. It'd be like 17%. So I'm pretty happy with a 17% loss on the downside, because on the upside, my first target is going to be this resistance level at 6%. That presents a 1.8 risk to reward ratio, which is not good in my opinion, but it is a start. And the reason that I'm not worried about that is because this first 6% target at plus 30% profit is a nice profit number, but I don't think Bitcoin's going to stop there. I think that if Bitcoin bounces off this price level, it's probably going to go, you know, at least to the all-time high, obviously. So that now makes this risk to reward at 2.7, which is better. It's still not reaching my, you know, target figure, or most people's target figure, which is going to be a minimum of 3. But it's close, and so I think that's pretty good. And that also means a speculative gain of about 45-46% profit. So that's a pretty sweet profit there, leveraging this up with 5x. I mean, you know, it's not necessarily something I would do every day of the week, but I think that, you know, if we did get a pullback here for Bitcoin, it's like I said, I just don't think that it would be particularly strong. I think it would be a shallower one. And this, I think, is adequate in both directions. It's definitely enough to cause some shock, but it's really not enough at all to let, you know, late people get in, because there are going to be a lot of late buyers. You guys got to keep this in mind. There are going to be a lot of late buyers in this market who wanted to get into this market, you know, down at kind of 58. Maybe they wanted another shot at 59. Maybe they wanted to buy at 60. They didn't get a chance to kind of finish buying down there, right? It could be that. And so a lot of these people, they're still not going to get their fills if Bitcoin comes down here. A lot of people will get their fills, and that's why I don't think it's even going to happen. But I think that, you know, a lot of buys are just not going to get filled up here, and I think that could be a big reason that, you know, this would be considered more of a shallow pullback. But if we look at this from a couple other perspectives now, you know, if we look at this from the EMA ribbon, for example, we've got a ton of EMA support that kind of starts off at the top of this price range here. I'd say it's a little bit too high, but on the daily time frame, it's actually pretty well positioned. You know, if Bitcoin does start to drop down at any point over, you know, the next few days, this EMA ribbon is still quite aggressively curved upwards here. So I mean, this is going to be right in line with this support level as of today, and so it's going to get better with every single day that passes now, as long as we don't drop substantially lower. And that means we're going to have a ton of support from this daily EMA ribbon at this price level. And I just think that's going to be really good for Bitcoin. I think that's going to put Bitcoin in a very strong position to continue to rise up. And so again, that really makes me feel quite confident about how well this position might end up going. Now, the other thing that I want to look at with all of that in mind is also going to be the Ichimoku cloud. And here on the daily time frame, it's still a little bit too low, but look at how quickly it's moving up. This is genuinely going to be an important level in this market for a long time. Like, I think if Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin smashes its all-time high today and it gets to $75,000, $80,000 today, tomorrow, it doesn't matter. I still think that this is going to be an important price level for Bitcoin for quite a long time. And, you know, the Ichimoku cloud is there for Bitcoin. Here on the daily time frame, I mean, it still isn't even there, and we're at the end of November here that it's printing the cloud now. So this is more of a December thing, you know, for Bitcoin to potentially come back and get some support on the daily Ichimoku cloud. But look at how aggressively it's moving up. It's clearly going to be coming up to this price zone for early December. That might not be interesting now, but if you watch this YouTube channel regularly, you're going to know that your boy's not going anywhere. I'm here every time something interesting happens, whether it's on a live stream or a pre-recorded video like this. And with all of this content that you're getting, you know that I'm always going to be here if there's some sort of big price action happening. So even though it might not look super interesting now, come December, you're going to be really grateful that you've been soaking up bits of information like this about where potential support might be laying ahead in the future, because that's going to be one of the big questions as we enter a trending market on this occasion. I wish that I was watching YouTubers like me when I started trading. I was watching YouTubers like me when I started trading, but there weren't very many, and I didn't watch them very much. And this is such sober, you know, calm analysis. Smash up the likes for that if you appreciate this. If you find it useful at all. It's such calm and sober analysis, and it's just exactly what you need when things are moving. You know, a lot of people, they rush to sensationalize things and make things really exciting and, you know, big dopamine highs and whatever. And it's just not the way that we do things here. And I think that, you know, makes a big difference. I think it's the reason that you're probably going to hear a lot more stories of people cracking their first million over the next few months here on this YouTube channel. That's what we're all about here. So really good stuff. Bitcoin's dominance still looking very strong. No signs at all of even faltering. It's probably going to keep on moving up. You know, so I think that's all looking pretty damn sweet. And I think that really outlines kind of what I think might happen for Bitcoin if it does end up pulling back. That's going to be kind of my plan for Bitcoin if it does end up pulling back. I might make a video on what happens if Bitcoin explodes upwards. Let me know if you want to see that in the comment section, and I can throw that out for you guys. But as it stands right now, that's going to be kind of my plan here. And like I said, I'm going to be trading it on the links in the description below, so you can check them out if you're interested, but only if you're allowed. And with all of that, ladies and gents, I hope you've enjoyed this one. So you know what to do. Smash up those likes, subscribe, and tick the bell if you haven't done so already. And I'm going to see you all in the next one. Cheers.